So people often hear about blockages, like I feel blocked in this area of my life. I feel blocked in this area of my life, or this thing isn't healing, or this relationship isn't working, or whatever. And it's all a response to the fact that this energy isn't flowing in a stabilized manner. So it's getting accentuated in certain areas and a deficiency in other areas because we're swerving around all these aspects of our whole true self. And so as a byproduct of that, we feel like we're trying all that we can. We feel like we're doing all that we should. And it simply doesn't work for us and we feel stuck. So that stuck or blocked energy flow literally keeps us from activating different aspects of our consciousness.
Hello, darlings, and welcome to Not Over, Just Different. I'm Natalie Ledwell, and I'm here to share deeply insightful and vulnerable conversations with you from people who are willing to open up and share what their journey's been like, so that you can learn and be inspired to take action in yours. It's never too late to begin again or to see a new perspective. No matter what your dreams or goals are, you'll find inspiration and community here. It's time to rediscover yourself, reignite your passions, and make the next 50 years even more full than the first. Well, hello everyone and welcome to the podcast for this week. This week, I have the amazing Dr. Sue Morter with me. Hi, Dr. Sue. How are you?
Hello, Natalie. It's so great to be with you. It's a perfect moment for these kinds of conversations in the world. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Right? Yes, exactly. And the kind of conversation we're talking about is we were just talking earlier about how as women at this time of our life, we know that we are always facing a lot of changes anyway. You know, whether that's through career or our kids have gone off to college or we're stepping out of a long-term relationship or a marriage. And then we find ourselves in this new chapter or this new era of our life. And what seems to happen, if there is any kind of old belief or old program about ourselves that we haven't kind of dealt with earlier, it seems like it is so front and center at this time of our life that we have no other choice but to look at that. And I've actually just got off a coaching call, and that was the main topic of conversation is like, this woman was in her 70s and, you know, her mother passed away and all these things that came up for her that she was working on. There always seems to be another layer, you know, to the work that we can do. So let's talk a little bit about what these old programs are in case someone's not familiar with what we're talking about here.
Certainly, you know, one of the things that I call what you've just described is flooding the basement. That when we pour in, you know, the infinite possibilities that we're learning are available to us, and where science is developing so much of an understanding of what spirituality was telling us for years, for millennia actually, that there is a reason for everything that's happening. There is possibility, there's potentiality available for you. You just have to open to it. And so people start to try to open themselves and to be available. And when we do, it's as if this opportunity pours in and it floods the basement. All the stuff that we've stuck in boxes and shoved under the staircase in our lives, the unresolved emotion that are responses or reactions or misinterpretations of life experiences up to this point, they're there under the stairway. And so as we start opening ourselves and trying to, you know, even asking, the fact that we're even here in this conversation means we're open to greater possibility, right? We're not just dredging on with our lives and trying to make it work. We're here to learn and to open and to realize some things that maybe we hadn't put the pieces together on before. And so as we do, there's this influx of higher vibrational frequency energy, literally, that gets freed up in our system, and it starts to dislodge everything that is not that. So it dislodges misperceptions, ideas of limitation, inadequacy, insufficiency, these perceptions that we have had of self that aren't true. When the pressure gets thick on the outside, that stuff's got to go, because we can't become the vibrational match to what life is calling us to do when we're harboring these anchorings of misperceptions and distortions about who and what we truly are. It's actually an amazing time that we're in. There's an amazing opportunity in front of us because we kind of can't run. We can't hide. And so, you know, at the end of the day, we'll be happy about that. We just want to make it easier during the day while we're in the process of really wrapping our minds around how we can be effective with what is transpiring in our world today.
And, you know, and I was mentioning before, there always seems to be another layer. Like, I think also is that different situations can be the catalyst for us to do this. And, you know, I was mentioning this 70-year-old lady, she's done a lot of work over her life. And it was her mother passing away that brought up, new things to the surface. For me, last year, the beginning of last year, my mum went into a home with dementia. And that brought up a whole ton of feelings and emotions and awarenesses of things that I've done a lot of work around my relationship with my mum and with my dad, and thought that was, I did a really great job there. But it's amazing how these little seemingly benign events, or sometimes it's a big event, can really be the catalyst for more growth and for more things to come to the surface.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And sometimes we've done work on a conscious level, a mental and emotional level. We've talked it through. We've been engaged in understanding that old happenings in our lives have created certain engram patterns in our nervous system, and we can reframe those and rewire those. And intellectually, we get it. We get it philosophically. We get the ideas and the concepts, and we're willing to forgive and release and understand. And that deeper layer that you're kind of, speaking toward is not the thinking, feeling on an emotional level. It's a deeper layer. It's a felt physiology. It's a sense of this guttural presence that we truly are, that one that is in there, the innocent one that never really had the microphone, that never really had the voice or had the opportunity, that is now having to come up and reveal. And so any kind of distortions that have been perceived along the pathway over the years, they start to become accentuated because now the energies of our system are rising and filling up these distorted perceptions of self. And so it's sort of the difference between understanding something and living into it. We can look at riding the bicycle. We can watch someone ride a bicycle. We can read about riding a bicycle. We can understand all the trials and tribulations and the potential, dangers of riding a bicycle. It is not really riding a bicycle until you get on the bike, right? So you're in this situation with your mother, and it's tapping some of the most deep and vulnerable aspects of your system from your very origin. And energetically, that plays a huge role in our feeling of stability and our understanding of self and who we are and how we can most effectively manage these moments in life.
So I think I understand that, why this energy exists in our body, but I'd like you to explain a little bit about how it's living in there. I know that we may have energy or emotional energy that's been stored in the body somewhere from past events. How does that live there, and how does that affect our nervous system, or how does it affect us in general?
Sure. So, one of the things that is easiest for people to picture is that when we look at the bioenergetics of our system, how energy flows through our system and what role it's playing, is that actually our system is made of this energy. If we take the unified field of energy, of infinite, all of the essence that is, everything that exists, and we start compressing it, eventually we get to physical matter. So the chair that you're sitting in is energy that's been compressed. The thoughts that you think are energies that have been compressed in certain patterns and certain fashions. And your physical body is energy that has been compressed. The emotions that you feel are energies that are vibrating at a different frequency. So different from your thoughts or your physical body, the emotions are sort of this space in between. And when we do not express something or understand or metabolize some circumstance in our lives, what happens is we start to overly compress that vibrational field in a way that creates a blockage, if you will, in the flow. So one of the things that I share with people is to imagine that this unified field starts compressing itself toward physical form. And so it compresses and compresses, and it generates a funnel that generates a channel. And that channel pours all the way down through the top of your body and into the earth. It hits the earth and it rises up through your body and out the top of the head, and it cycles around the outside of the body over and over and over, rising up through the deep center and coming out on the surface. And it's called a toric field. And this is a measurable field of movement of the human system. Now, when we have an unresolved issue, it is as if there's a pothole in the flow of the uprising of that energy. The superhighway now has gaps in it, where we're shutting down or turning off the switches, or we're denying something or suppressing it, and it creates these potholes. And so now this rising energy that comes up through the body has to divert and distort around these potholes in the highway. So that swerving and weaving that has to take place creates a distortion in the overall flow of the energy field. And that distortion causes us to look out through a distorted energy field, and we see that the world is different than it really is. We see that people aren't in support of us. We see that it's not in my favor. We see that I'm not enough, or that it's never going to work out. And when this is happening, we are living in a distorted reality, and it might as well be true, because it's how we then take action based upon these distortions that we're perceiving. And the great news is we can fill in those potholes. We can get the energy flowing again in a way that is more smooth and is filled with grace and picks up momentum and potential, that has the ability to then really fill in other gaps along the way once we get the energy flowing again. So people often hear about blockages, like I feel blocked in this area of my life. I feel blocked in this area of my life, or this thing isn't healing, or this relationship isn't working, or whatever. And it's all a response to the fact that this energy isn't flowing in a stabilized manner. So it's getting accentuated in certain areas and a deficiency in other areas, because we're swerving around all these aspects of our whole true self. And so as a byproduct of that, we feel like we're trying all that we can. We feel like we're doing all that we should, and it simply doesn't work for us, and we feel stuck. So that stuck or blocked energy flow literally keeps us from activating different aspects of our consciousness, our ability to feel great consciousness, our ability to then do that in relation of who we are and what it takes for me to be me is another level of consciousness. And another one is my unconditionality, my forgiveness, my capacity to begin again, my fluidity in life. And another layer of consciousness is my ability to manifest and my ability to take action based on what I truly feel and desire versus what I think I should do or what I think I'm capable of. And then, of course, there are other levels of consciousness that have to do with our multidimensionality and our ability to feel connected to source constantly and allow that to be pouring through us into the endeavors in our lives. So basically, I want to say this. If the energy is stuck in the body, it will be stuck in your life, because what happens is this energy flows and recycles as I've described it, and then it projects out in front of us. And we literally are walking into a movie that we are projecting. This is what quantum science is showing us about the reality that we live in. We're walking into a movie that we're projecting onto a movie screen as if it's real and if it's true. So if we have a bunch of distortions inside of this projector physically, then what ends up landing on the movie screen is a compromised version of what we could be living in. It doesn't allow us to heal. It doesn't allow us to feel confident in pursuing our goals and of manifesting or what have you. It doesn't allow us to have the wherewithal to be present in emotional type situations that, even though we've done mental and emotional work on them, if the body flow isn't happening alongside those realizations that we're having, it's like there's still a disconnect between the conscious and the subconscious. And that disconnect is why we don't heal. That disconnect is why we don't find ourselves capable of being present in the moments where it seems to matter most, where we get overwhelmed, or we feel like we don't have what it takes to meet the demands of what is happening in our lives today, whether it's with family or work or just the way things are going in external communities and cultures and in between countries. It's all the same thing, that this energy is either flowing or it is not.
And so, like, how do we get that energy flowing? How do we fix those potholes?
The more we can open physically, not just open our minds to the possibilities or, not clamp down on premature conclusions, the more we can, do those things mentally and emotionally, of course, the better. And there's a physical component that gets left out of the mix, that if someone will add this physical component, of all the places that we could go, right now we're in the physical dimension. We've chosen to come here. And so our physical body has something to do with how we can be here the most effectively. And so if we can pay attention to what's happening in the physical body much more than we tend to when it comes to problem solving or trying to deal with emotional circumstances or new situations where we feel uncomfortable, all we really do is, in terms of paying attention to the body, is notice that we've got this knot in our stomach or this lump in our throat or this jitter happening somewhere in our gut. And those kinds of things get our attention. And what we really want to learn is that that's a language that the body is speaking. And if we could learn to listen and learn that what that means, what those signals and signs are referring to, it begins to really set us free with where we need to draw our attention. So the next time someone has a lump in their throat or tightness in their chest or a knot in their stomach or those butterflies in the gut that occur, it's important to know that what's trying to happen there is mind and body and breath are trying to work together. And so the body is calling your attention to this area of it because it's representing a pothole. It's one of these gaps. For instance, if I have a gap right here, this energy that's rising is going to hit that gap and have to go around it somehow to continue on its path. When it hits that gap or that blockage, if you will, we feel that knot as a knot in our stomach or a lump in our throat. It's physically palpable. And so there's a language that's trying to be spoken that will guide us into steering, navigating this life in a much more comprehensive way. So what we do is pay attention. And then I would invite people to give it a hug where on the inside of the body, not like hug it with your arms, and you could place your hand on the area, but you don't have to. You could literally just bring your attention inside and recognize, wow, I feel tightness in my throat or in my chest, or there's something happening in my solar plexus area. And if you would just kind of hug it, because it becomes a stabilizing moment where the mind can find this particular area that more attention needs to be gathered. We need to not divert around this area anymore. We need to fill in the gap. So we're filling in the potholes this way. So wherever we direct our attention, energy flows. Little packets of energy called photons are truly the foundation of our reality. And if we've been directing all of our attention externally, we're kind of emptied out on the inside. All of our attention has gone on to object instead of being on self, on subject. So if we draw our attention inside our body, these little packets of energy, they follow the focus of our mind. That's how powerful our mind is. I don't need to tell you about the power of the mind. We get this, right? And so in this, there's a beautiful thing that we can do that will allow us to heal. People usually want to get away from pain, whether it's physical or emotion. They want to lean away. They want to move away from it. And the invitation here is to move into it and embrace it and love it. So you give it a hug, and then you anchor yourself in this central channel, which if we have a moment, I can share how to do that. But basically what we're doing is gathering the energy into the areas that have created these gaps that have been the byproduct of all the stuff that we couldn't handle earlier in life because we just didn't have the wherewithal. We were too busy trying to just, figure it out and how to get through the day. And as it turns out, here we are years later trying to figure it out and get through the day, but from a higher level of awareness. And the more we can add to that, the more proficient we become and the more masterful we become at living this life in these meant to be beautiful ways. So by hugging there and breathing in the belly is the next step to do there.
Is it time for a career change? Find out with our free 30-second quiz. This simple yet potent tool will help you determine if a new career path is right for you. Don't miss out the chance to turn your life around. Go to mindmovies.com/career quiz.
If you are getting tightness or uncomfortability in a certain part of the body, does that correlate to a certain area of life?
It absolutely correlates to a certain area of your life. It is so magical. It is so beautiful how this blueprint is laid out for us. If you could just imagine, your body is made of the energy of the universe. You're not separate from it. You are that. And the universe has compressed itself into this physical form, and that is you. So the science is now showing us that the basic foundation of all of existence is consciousness itself. It's awareness. It's energy that's awake. And that's you. You've compressed and gathered yourself into this physical body. And so if there are areas of these gaps where we're not living awake in, guarantee it's going to reflect into an area of our lives. Now, we know that areas like low back have to do with the support that is present or not present in our perceptive field. If we feel like we have to go it alone and the weight of the world is on our shoulders, people are going to show up with back pain. People are going to have neck pain if they're constantly aggravated or agitated with themselves or with life or with someone. Of course, these types of things are directly related. Legs, hips, knees, ankles are a big thing for people, has to do with our ability to step forward in life and take action with confidence and clarity, knowing that we are part of this continuum, that we are not a separate self. And that's really where the foundation of most of our suffering comes from, is that we have perceived ourselves as this isolated entity that's got to figure it out and make it work. And so one of the things that I really encourage people to do is to recognize that you are a continuum. There is this continuum of energy compressing, and flowing right into your physical system and right through you into the movie of your life. And as you open this system and you begin to fill in these gaps, that energy can flow through you without becoming distorted. And so you're not living in a distorted reality. You're living in a full, comprehensive, full rainbow movie, if you will, with all of the attributes that are required for success. So these qualities that affect us on a physical health level also affect us in our relationships and our ability to manifest and to speak into things that need to be spoken into, or to listen when that's the best medicine possible, to just be present and stop trying to fix things, but just be available for this flow to happen through us and to trust in it. You know, I find it easier. We know we have to trust the universe. We have to trust the way things go, right? And it's hard when we're not in that moment. And so I find that if people can just envision that there's this funnel, this channel running up through the center of your body and a funnel out the top of your head that connects to everything that is, and that it's flowing through this toric field, down through you into this toric field flow and projecting out in front of you, that when you open and you drop in and you allow breath of loving presence, is what I call it, to come to these places that are speaking to the mind in this moment in the language of knots in the throat or tightness in the chest or what have you, and allow it to flow out into your life according to what you're being shown, what ends up happening is you find yourself being able to be different in relationship to money, or relationship to time, or relationship in your marriage or in your partnerships or in your friendship. There is a flow that is trying to happen through us. And when we shut down over the years in various ways, it begins to have an effect and blocks the energy from flowing through us. So your original question was, what's the role of the energy and how does it get trapped? I know this is it's a big explanation, but the more we can have that in our mind's eye, that when I want support, I got to open my system instead of buckle down and get contracted and get my defenses up and ready to get out there and go make it happen. I open and allow the universe to flow through. And the idea of trusting the universe is easier because I can feel it rushing through my body. My mind can trust that it's there when my mind is in the forefront, having a rough time, a rough go of it in any decision-making moment or in any aspect of life that just simply is not seeming to be in the flow. This is a dashboard that we can use as a monitor to navigate more effectively.
Yeah, and I think like our earlier life, we're forcing, we're achieving, we're making stuff happen, and we're doing all of that. But at this time of our life, it's more about being and more about allowing. This is how we get stuff done now.
Yeah. And that's it. It's like this continuum is moving through you, and that's what's getting the stuff done. You're just observing, witnessing, stewarding, allowing. You're honing your ability to steer where the power goes, but you're not trying to be the power itself. You're just letting the power do what it is here to do. It knows what to do. We just have to stop interfering with what it's here to do.
Yeah, exactly, right? So if there was like one step that someone could take, like they're listening to this, go, okay, I understand this, I get this, I feel like I do have some blockages. What is something that they can do to be able to, release or to get those highways working properly?
Yes, get the superhighway up.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we can do is to, of course, belly breathing, we know, is much better than breathing in the upper chest. Belly breathing draws us down into parasympathetic dominance, and which allows for healing and filtering and cleansing and detoxifying and creative genius to show up. And so belly breathing is better than chest breathing. So if we do that, and then if we roll our shoulders up and back and down and draw our blades together and drop them down, this is a physical exercise that we can do that will help us instantly start to feel what I'm speaking about. And now we're pulling the blades together and dropping them down. So it sort of like opens the front side of the heart and anchors us on the back side of the heart. There are neurotransmitters that hit the brain instantly, anchoring the heart, stabilizing it, pulls us into alpha frequency faster and faster, and allows us to just be, to be present. The heart is open, but I'm not open and airy. I'm open and grounded. And that is an essential combination of energies. And so then the next thing that we can do, we're belly breathing and we've got our blades together and down in this way. And now take a breath from the earth and this might seem odd to some people who are just, hearing this for the first time, breathe from the earth up into your belly. Just pull it up into your belly. And then you squeeze your blades, and then you're going to exhale from your belly, a channel up through your body, through your heart, through your throat, through the center of your brain, and out the top of your head. And then imagine this, taking a breath from overhead, right down into the center of the brain, into the throat, into the chest, all the way through the diaphragm and into the belly. A full belly breath, but it's starting from overhead. Draw it all the way down to the belly. And your mind's going to have to practice that a few times so that it can stay with it all the way. And then exhale that right back down into the earth. Now, that's a central channel breath, and it's something that Eastern cultures would cultivate, called the Sushumna, the central channel, this river of life that runs through the core of our system. It dictates everything in our reality. So let's just do that one more time. A breath from the earth up into the belly. Squeeze those blades together, drop them down so it opens the heart. And now we're going to exhale up through the solar plexus and through the heart, through the throat, through the center of the brain, and out the top of the head. And then once more, a breath from overhead, right down into, just draw it down into the center of the brain, into the throat, into the chest, through the solar plexus, into the belly, and then exhale right down into the earth. So that's a central channel breath. It's one thing we can do. Tremendously beneficial because it gets this whole toric field machine moving. And there's something else that we can do that will also enhance this energy flow. And this is just kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if people are watching or if they're listening. I'm going to describe what I'm doing if you can't see what I'm doing in this moment, okay? So I'm going to just kind of touch the backs of my fingertips gently toward each other. I'm going to draw my breath in and come up this central channel. And then I'm going to exhale out the top of my head and trace this energy around the outside of my body super slow. Go super, super slow, like you're cycling it around like a big donut around the outside of the body. And then as it comes in again at the base of the spine, the tip of your system, the groundedness, let's do it again. Inhale straight up. So it's sort of a Qigong type movement. And exhale out the crown. And the slower you go, the more you will start to feel energy in the palms of your hands, off the fingertips. There's a high frequency energy that is accessible by our hands that has to do with this continuum in its highest potential. So what it does is allows our sensory nervous system to perceive, oh, there is something here. I can kind of feel it. Let's do this once more. Inhale up, right up through the central of the channel, out the top of the head. And now feel in the palms of your hands as if there is a ball of light or a ball of energy in the palms of your hand. There is, actually. And you're just kind of starting to train your sensory system to perceive it because truly everything is energy. And when we can start to become aware of these more subtle energies and stay attuned to them, we begin to align with a more foundational aspect of life itself. We can become more stable, more centered, and our creativity can come forward when we're in that state. And then there's one more thing that I would suggest that people do. And this is probably the most important of all. But the other two are important to get us set up for this. And this is the next time that you feel triggered by something or you're feeling disoriented or distorted or like you're not yourself or you're not on your game and you're just not together. When you find yourself preoccupied about something, we need to ask a better question than the one that we typically ask. We typically ask, why is this happening? What's wrong with me? What do I need to do differently? That kind of stuff. It's not the right environment for those answers that you're actually looking for to come. And so ask a better question. Where in my body could I build more circuitry to allow this superhighway to flow? Where in my body? Instead of asking why, ask where. Instead of asking what, ask where. Instead of asking who, ask where. Where in my body could I fill in a pothole? Where in my body could I build some energy circuits that will allow my sensory nervous system eventually to have a better sense of me flowing through there more robustly, with greater strength, without a wobble, without distortion? And your mind is going to go to the spot. It's crazy. But this system of mind, body, breath, it wants to help each other. It's in it together. So you ask the question, your mind is going to go to the place in the body where those circuits need to be built instantly. It instantly knows. And you might even feel something. You might feel the knot in your stomach, the lump in your throat, whatever, but your mind will go there whether you feel anything or not. If somebody's used to living in their head, chances are they're not going to feel a lot in their body first when they first start working with this. So do this. Where in my body could I build the circuits? And if it takes me to my gut, then I put my hand there or I hug it on the inside and I start belly breathing. And I start central channel breathing. And then I ultimately would trace this while I'm focusing on that area that was the answer when I asked the question, where in the body could I build some circuits to just get the system working faster, or get it working better? Now, there are many, many other components to working with this in this way, but this is sort of a skim across the surface to get people started realizing that my body is going to play a role with how my mind calms down. And if I want to be more loving or more creative, more genius, or have more energy and vitality, then I need to get in my body instead of living in only my head. I need to draw upon these resources much, much more often. In fact, continuously, ultimately. And so by remembering this continuum, remembering that the physical body is your answer, or you would be in a non-physical reality right now. The physical body has something to do with your ultimate embodiment of your genius here, the ultimate manifestation of you coming into this dimension and having a good time while you're here, for goodness sakes. It's not just about survival. It's about, let's go in and have some fun.
Especially at this time of our life, we've earned it.
Right. We have been there. We have done that. Exactly. Let's relax, but let's relax effectively so that we get what we want.
Well, Dr. Sue, it's been amazing chatting with you today. And I think that this will make sense to a lot of people because we do it. When we're feeling stuck like that, we can get into a bit of a vortex in our mind and, like a dog chasing its tail. But if we get out of our mind and get into our bodies, then we have the ability to make the shift. Now, when we can get that highway moving, now we have choices. We can choose how we want to respond. We can choose how we want to perceive a specific situation. And we also open up the channels so that we can get guidance and inspiration to come in to help us, on that next step of the path. So, yeah, that's fantastic tools. It's amazing. I know that you've also gifting our community with an amazing redefining anxiety meditation, which is amazing. So we'll make sure that link is in the show notes. And you can also find Dr. Sue at drsuemorter.com. So, yeah.
Yes. My goodness. It's been such a great joy to be with you. I absolutely love what you're doing and bringing the work that you're bringing to the world and bringing people together in the ways that you are, Natalie. It's truly a beautiful thing. And so I'm honored to be here and happy to play anytime. So
wonderful. Great.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Not Over, Just Different. If you felt inspired by this episode, please subscribe and drop a comment below to let us know what you loved. My goal is to reignite the spark that you may think you've lost and cultivate a space where no matter what walk of life you are, you can step into the world with power and confidence. I would love to hear your reviews. It helps us to reach more incredible women like you. So until next time, keep growing, keep striving, and keep believing in the power of your potential. Here's to living your best life now.